I didn't answer right away. I let the silence stretch. I watched the color drain from Marcus's face. He looked like he was about to faint. Chloe was frantically Googling Julian Sterling. Her eyes went wide as she stared at her screen. He's the CEO of Sterling Vance Global? She whispered. Vance? Like our name? I looked at Julian Sterling. My eyes were stinging, but I wouldn't let a single tear fall. Not yet. I'll be there, Julian. But I need tonight. I need to say goodbye to some things. Of course, Eleanor, Julian said. He reached out and gently squeezed my hand. His skin was warm. The security detail will remain outside. No one enters or leaves this house tonight without your express permission. He glanced at Marcus and Chloe as he said it. The implication was clear. They were no longer the ones in charge. Wait, Marcus shouted as Julian turned to leave. You can't just leave. What do you mean she owns my firm's land? That's impossible. My father was a janitor at the tech plant. Julian stopped at the edge of the porch. He didn't turn around. Your father was the architect of the encryption software that runs the world's banking systems, Mr. Vance. He just liked the quiet of the night shift. He said it was the only time he could think without his children asking him for money. Then the SUV door closed and the vehicle pulled away, leaving two other black sedans parked at my curb. I walked back into the dining room. I sat down in my chair. I picked up my fork and took a bite of the dry turkey. It tasted like ash, but I chewed it slowly. Mama, Marcus started. His voice was shaking now. He sat down next to me, trying to put his hands on my arm. I moved my arm away. Mama, listen. We didn't mean, about the assisted living. We were just worried. This neighborhood is getting dangerous. We wanted you somewhere safe. $500, Marcus, I said. What? The light bill. You said you couldn't afford it. You said the house was trash. I was having a bad quarter, Ma. You know how the real estate market is in Atlanta right now. It's all interest rates and Chloe. I looked at my daughter. She was hovering, looking at me like a lottery ticket she hadn't finished scratching. I was joking. My followers love your vintage vibe, Mama. I was going to do a whole remodel series for you. It would have been great for your brand. I stood up. I felt a strength in my spine I hadn't felt since Arthur passed. I'm tired. Marcus, Chloe, thank you for dinner. You can see yourselves out. The security guards will make sure you find your cars safely. But the key, what's in the vault? We should go with you tomorrow. You'll need someone to explain the legal stuff. I think Julian can handle the legal stuff, Chloe. Good night. As they shuffled out, looking over their shoulders at the men in suits standing on my lawn, I went to Arthur's old study. I moved the heavy rug and found the loose floorboard under his desk. There was one more thing he'd left me, something Julian didn't even know about. The floorboard groaned as I pried it up. Inside was a small metal box wrapped in an old flannel shirt, one of Arthur's favorites. It still smelled faintly of peppermint and old paper. Inside were 3 leather-bound journals. I sat on the floor, my old knees aching, and began to read. October 14th, 2018. The entry read, Eleanor, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm sorry I kept the scale of our life a secret, but I watched Marcus steal $20 from your purse when he was 15. I watched Chloe lie about her grades just to get a car. I knew then that if they grew up with billions, they would never grow up at all. I gasped, covering my mouth. Arthur had known. He had seen the seeds of their greed decades ago. I made a deal with Julian. I gave the company my patents, but I took my shares in a silent trust. I told him to keep me on the books as maintenance staff. I wanted to show our children the value of a hard day's work. But more than that, I wanted to see if they would love the man who cleaned the floors as much as they would love the man who owned them. I felt a sob break through my chest. For 20 years, I'd watched Arthur come home with gray dust on his boots. I'd packed him ham sandwiches in a plastic pail. He had played the part perfectly, and he had done it to protect me. The journals detailed everything, every property, every secret investment, every person he had helped in secret. He hadn't just been a janitor, he had been the city's silent guardian. He had bought up crumbling apartment complexes and lowered the rent anonymously. He had funded scholarships for kids in the West End. And then I found the final page of the first journal. It was a map, not of the city, but of Marcus's business dealings. Arthur had been tracking him. He knew Marcus was cutting corners. He knew Marcus was planning to force me out of this house to sell the land to a developer who wanted to build luxury condos that no one in this neighborhood could afford. "He's coming for the house, Eleanor," Arthur wrote. "He's going to try to make you sign a power of attorney. He thinks he's the shark. He doesn't realize he's swimming in your ocean." My blood ran cold. Marcus hadn't just been mean at dinner. He had been calculating. He was already in talks with the developers. He was going to sell my memories for a commission check. I closed the journal. I looked at the rusted key from Julian. It wasn't just a key to a vault. It was a key to a cage. And I was about to let the animals out. The next morning, I didn't wear my best Sunday dress. I wore my old gardening coat and the same shoes I'd worn to the trash dinner. I wanted to see them one last time as they truly saw me. When the black SUV pulled up to the First National Bank of Atlanta, Marcus and Chloe were already there. They were standing on the marble steps, dressed like they were attending a coronation. Marcus had a briefcase. Chloe had a professional cameraman with her. "Mama, over here!" Chloe waved, her voice echoing off the glass towers of downtown. "I'm doing a live reveal for my fans. The Secret Heiress of Atlanta. It's going viral." "Put the camera away, Chloe," I said, stepping out of the car. Julian was at my side, a silent shadow of power. "Ma, don't listen to her," Marcus whispered, leaning in close. He smelled like expensive cologne and desperation. "I brought the paperwork. We should move everything into a family trust immediately, for your protection. There are people who will try to take advantage of an older woman with this kind of sudden windfall." He glanced at Julian with pure venom. "Is that right, Marcus? You want to protect me?" "Of course. Family first, right?" We entered the lobby. The First National Bank was a cathedral of money, vaulted ceilings, gold leaf, and a silence that felt expensive. The tellers stopped what they were doing. The security guards straightened their ties. A man in a three-piece suit came sprinting, literally sprinting across the lobby. This was Mr. Henderson, the bank president. I recognized him from the papers. "Mrs. Vance," gasped Mr. Henderson, stopping in front of me and bowing so low I thought he might hit his head on the floor. "An honor, a true honor. We have the private elevator ready. Your husband's suite has been maintained exactly as he left it." Marcus stepped forward, his hand out. "Mr. Henderson, I'm Marcus Vance. I'll be handling the transition today. If we could just see the balance sheets." Henderson didn't even blink at him. He didn't see Marcus at all. He only saw the woman in the old gardening coat. "The vault requires the key, Mrs. Vance, and a biometric scan. Only yours will work. Your Associates will have to wait in the lounge. They're not associates, I said, my voice steady. They're my children, and I want them to see. I want them to see exactly what their father cleaned for 30 years. We stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed, I saw Marcus's reflection in the gold-plated mirrors. He was licking his lips. He looked like a wolf looking at a lamb. He had no idea he was the one in the trap. The vault didn't look like a bank. It looked like a library. Deep mahogany shelves, leather chairs, and a hum of climate control. This is the private family archive, Julian explained as he led us to a massive steel door at the back. I placed the rusted key into the lock. It turned with a heavy, satisfying thunk. As the door swung open, Chloe let out a little scream of excitement. Marcus pushed forward, his eyes searching for gold bars or stacks of cash. But there was no gold. There were just boxes. Hundreds of blue archival boxes, each labeled with a street address. "What is this?" Marcus demanded, his voice cracking. "Where's the money? Where are the bonds?" I walked over to a box labeled 1200 Peachtree Street. I opened it and pulled out a deed. "This is the land your firm is built on, Marcus. It's held by the Arthur Vance Trust." I opened another, 455 Buckhead Loop. "This is the shopping center where you just bought that new boutique for your wife, Marcus. It's owned by me." One by one, I started reading them. The power company headquarters, the downtown waterworks, the very ground under the governor's mansion. Marcus was hyperventilating. He, he bought the city? A janitor bought the city? "He didn't buy it to own it, Marcus," I said, looking him dead in the eye. "He bought these lands so developers couldn't kick out the people who lived there. He was the city's silent landlord, and today the lease is up." "Ma," said Marcus, his voice suddenly very small, "if you own the land my firm is on, and I'm your son, we could expand. We could turn that whole block into luxury high-rises. We'd be the most powerful family in the South." "I already have a plan for that block, Marcus." "What plan?" "I'm turning it into a park and a low-income housing complex for seniors. The demolition starts on Monday." Marcus's face went from pale to purple. "Demolition? My office is there, my entire business. You'd destroy my career?" "I thought the house was trash, Marcus, and your office? It's sitting on my trash land. I'm just taking your advice. I'm moving on to something budget-friendly." Chloe stepped forward, her phone still recording. "Mama, you can't be serious. Think of my image. I can't be the daughter of a woman who builds projects. We need to sell this. We could have billions." I looked at my daughter. "Chloe, honey, you're right about one thing. You do need to think about your image, because as of 5 minutes ago, I've stopped the payments on your influencer credit cards." The next 3 days were a whirlwind. Marcus and Chloe didn't go away. They became doting children overnight. They brought me flowers. They brought me gourmet meals. They tried to help me organize the journals. I watched them. I watched how they whispered in the hallway. I watched how Marcus kept looking at the power of attorney form he'd tucked into his briefcase. "Mama," Marcus said on the third evening. He was sitting on my old sofa, looking out of place in his $3,000 suit. "We've been thinking, this is a lot for one person to handle. All these deeds, the board meetings. Julian is a stranger. He could be skimming off the top." "Julian has been your father's best friend for 40 years, I said, sipping my tea. "People change when they see that much zeros, Ma," Chloe added, sitting on the other side of me. She was wearing a dress that was far too expensive for a budget house. "Marcus and I, we're your blood. We want to take the burden off your shoulders. Just sign this management agreement. It gives us the authority to handle the day to day stuff so you can just relax. Maybe take that trip to the Maldives we talked about? I looked at the paper. It wasn't a management agreement, it was a total transfer of assets. If I signed this, they could put me in that assisted living home by morning and sell the city by noon. You really think I should sign this? I asked. For your own peace of mind, Marcus said, his eyes gleaming. He handed me a gold pen. I took the pen. I hovered it over the signature line. I saw Marcus's hand tremble with anticipation. He was so close, he could already taste the money. I'll sign it, but only at the gala tomorrow night. I want the whole city to see how much I trust my children. I want to make it a public celebration of family. Marcus's face lit up. A gala! Yes, that's perfect. We'll invite the press. It'll be the social event of the decade. Good, I said. Now leave me. I have to prepare my speech. As soon as the door closed behind them, I called Julian. Is it ready? It's ready, Eleanor, Julian said. The drop is scheduled for 9 p.m. I went to the mirror. I looked at the woman who had spent 40 years being just a wife, just a mother. I took off my apron. I looked at the rusted key. Arthur, I whispered, watch this. The Buckhead Grand Ballroom was dripping in crystal and gold. The who's who of Georgia was there, the mayor, the senators, the billionaires. And at the center of it all were Marcus and Chloe acting like royalty. They had spent the last 24 hours telling everyone that they were the real power behind the Vance throne. Marcus was already taking meetings with developers in the corners of the room. Chloe was doing a live stream showing off the Vance family jewels, which were actually just high-end fakes she'd bought on credit, thinking she'd pay for them tonight. I arrived late. When the doors opened, the room went silent. I wasn't wearing an old coat anymore. I was wearing a gown of deep midnight blue with a single strand of pearls Arthur had given me for our 10th anniversary. I looked like what I was, the owner of the room. Julian met me at the door and offered his arm. We walked to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus shouted into the microphone, stepping forward to lead me. Tonight is a historic night. My mother, Eleanor Vance, has discovered the incredible legacy of my late father, and tonight she's entrusting that legacy to the next generation. She's about to sign the document that will usher in a new era for Atlanta. The crowd cheered. The cameras flashed. Marcus laid the management agreements on the podium. He handed me the gold pen. I looked at the crowd. I saw the faces of the people Marcus wanted to displace. I saw the faces of the people who had laughed at me when I asked for a loan. Before I sign, I said, my voice amplified by the speakers, I want to say a few words about my son Marcus and my daughter Chloe. Marcus beamed. Chloe blew a kiss to the camera. They told me this house and my life was trash. A gasp ran through the room. They told me I belonged in a warehouse for the dying. They refused me $500 for a light bill while they sat at my table and ate my food. The silence was deafening. Marcus's smile began to falter. Ma, what are you doing? This isn't the speech. I'm telling the truth, Marcus. Something you wouldn't recognize if it hit you like a demolition ball. I picked up the paper, but instead of signing it, I held it up for everyone to see. Then I slowly, deliberately tore it in half. The sound of the paper tearing was like a gunshot in the silent room. I'm not signing my assets over to you, Marcus, I said. In fact, I've already signed them over to someone else. Who? Marcus screamed, losing his composure. Who could you possibly give it to? The Vance Community Land Trust, I said. As of midnight, every single deed I own, the land under your office, the shopping centers, the downtown lots, has been transferred into a permanent trust. It can never be sold for profit. It will be used exclusively for affordable housing, public parks, and community centers. The room erupted. Half the people, the developers, looked like they were having heart attacks. The other half, the city officials and activists, started to cheer. "You can't do that," Chloe shrieked, running onto the stage. "That's our money. You're stealing our inheritance." "You can't inherit what was never yours, Chloe," I said calmly. "Your father left me that 5-year window to see if you would change, to see if you would treat a janitor's widow with respect. You failed." I turned to Marcus. "And as for your firm, since you don't have a lease anymore, and since the land is now owned by a trust that doesn't permit predatory luxury development, your eviction notice is being served as we speak. I believe you have 72 hours to clear your desk. I'd offer you a room in my trash house, but, well, I'm sure you'd prefer something more budget-friendly." Marcus lunged for me, but Julian's security team stepped in front of him like a wall of stone. Marcus fell to his knees on the stage, the gold pen rolling away into the shadows. Chloe was sobbing, her live stream still going, recording her own social and financial suicide for the world to see. I walked off the stage. I didn't look back. I walked out of the ballroom, through the crowd of stunned billionaires, and into the cool Atlanta night. Julian met me at the car. "Where to, Mrs. Chairman?" I looked at the rusted key in my hand. "Home, Julian. I have a light bill to pay, and then I think I'd like to plant some flowers." It's been 6 months since that night. Marcus is working as a junior agent in a suburb 2 hours away. He spends his days cold calling people, trying to sell starter homes. He calls me every Sunday. I don't answer, not because I'm mean, but because he needs to learn what it's like to talk to a mother, not a bank account. Chloe's influencer lifestyle collapsed. When people found out she had tried to put her own mother in a home to steal her money, she became the most hated woman on the internet. Last I heard, she's working at a boutique, not as the owner, but as the girl who folds the clothes. It's a real job. It's good for her. As for me, I still live in the house Arthur and I built. But it's not trash anymore. Julian helped me restore it. We kept the old character, but the insulation is perfect now. The heater hums like a satisfied cat. And the garden, it's the pride of the neighborhood. I spend my mornings at the Vance Foundation. We've saved 65 families from eviction this month alone. We pay the bills that their children won't. We give them back their dignity. I sat on my porch today looking at the key Arthur left me. He knew. He knew that sometimes the people you love the most need to lose everything to find themselves. He didn't leave me money to make me rich. He left me power to make me heard. So where are we now, you and me? You've been through this whole journey with me, from that dry turkey to this quiet porch. I need to know, what part of this story hit you hardest? Was it the $500 light bill, the moment Marcus realized his office was gone, or seeing Eleanor finally stand up for herself? Drop a comment and tell me. I'm reading every single one of them. Where are you watching from? Let's see how far Eleanor's story has traveled today. If this story made you feel something, if it made you want to call your mom, or if it made you realize your own worth, then I've done my job. Do you know someone who needs to hear this? Someone being treated like a burden by the people they raised? Share this video with them right now. Let them know they're not alone. Hit that subscribe button if you believe that justice is a dish best served cold, but with a warm heart. Like this video if you're proud of Eleanor. This is Voices of Stephanie, reminding you, your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. You are the foundation. You are the legacy. See you in the next story. Goodbye for now. The turkey was dry, but the silence at the table was heavier. I looked around at my two children, Marcus and Chloe. Marcus, 35, was a high-powered real estate agent in Buckhead who wore suits that cost more than my car. Chloe, 28, was a lifestyle influencer who spent her days taking photos of expensive salads. They were laughing about a 3-week trip to the Maldives. My hand trembled as I reached for my water glass. I cleared my throat, the sound small against their loud, artificial joy. "Marcus?" I said softly. The laughter didn't stop. Marcus, honey? He finally looked at me, his eyes glancing at his Rolex. Yeah, Ma? You need more stuffing? It's a bit dry, but I guess it's fine for a budget dinner. No. I swallowed hard. My throat felt tight, like it was closing up. I I got the notice today, the light bill. It's $500 with the late fees. I was wondering if you could loan me just until my Social Security check hits. The table went silent. Chloe put her fork down with a sharp clack against the porcelain. Loan you? She laughed, a cold, sharp sound that hit me like a slap. Mama, we just gave you 200 last month for your meds. Where does the money go? Are you spending it on those old cat figurines again? The house is old, Chloe. The insulation is gone. The heater, it runs all night just to keep the living room at 60 degrees. The house is trash, Ma, Marcus interrupted, leaning forward. His eyes weren't kind. We've told you 1,000 times, sell it. Move into that assisted living place over on 4th Street. It's budget friendly. They have a community room and everything. Budget friendly? I whispered. It's a warehouse for people waiting to die, Marcus. Your father and I built this house with our own hands. And Dad's been gone 5 years, Ma. He left you with a janitor's pension and a pile of rotting wood. It's time to face reality. Marcus turned back to his wife dismissively. I felt a coldness settle in my chest, a different kind of cold than the Georgia winter. They didn't see me. They saw a bill. They saw a burden. They saw a woman who had outlived her usefulness. But before I tell you what I did next, before I tell you about the secret my husband Arthur left buried in the floorboards of this trash house, I need to check in with you. Where are you watching from right now? Are you at home, maybe feeling a little overlooked yourself? Or are you on your lunch break, looking for a bit of justice? Drop your city and state in the comments. I'm reading this from my kitchen in Atlanta, and I want to know who is standing here with me. Because what happened 10 minutes after Marcus called my home trash, it didn't just change my life. It changed the entire skyline of this city. A knock came at the door. Not a normal knock, a heavy, rhythmic thud that made the silver on the table rattle. The sound was so deliberate, so powerful, that Marcus actually jumped in his seat. "Who the hell is that?" he grumbled, wiping gravy from his chin. "It's nearly 8 o'clock. "I'll get it," I said. My heart was thudding against my ribs like a trapped bird. I stood up, smoothing my faded apron. I felt Marcus and Chloe's eyes on my back. Judgmental, impatient, wishing I'd just sit back down and fade away. I opened the heavy oak door. Standing on my porch was a man who looked like he'd stepped off the cover of a magazine for the world's most powerful people. He wore a charcoal gray suit, perfectly tailored, and a wool overcoat that looked softer than a cloud. His hair was a dignified silver, and his eyes were sharp like a hawk's. Behind him, idling at the curb, sat a black armored SUV. Its headlights cut through the Atlanta humidity, illuminating the peeling paint on my porch. "Mrs. Eleanor Vance?" he asked. His voice was like velvet over gravel, deep, resonant, and incredibly respectful. "I am," I whispered. "My name is Julian Sterling. I was a very close associate of your late husband, Arthur." Marcus appeared behind me, his real estate agent persona sliding on like a mask. He pushed past me slightly, trying to dominate the doorway. "Can I help you, sir? I'm Marcus Vance, Eleanor's son. If you're here for the property, I handle all her legal and financial affairs. The house isn't for sale yet, but we're looking at offers for the land." Mr. Sterling didn't even look at Marcus. He didn't acknowledge his outstretched hand. He kept his eyes locked on mine. "Arthur told me to wait exactly 5 years," Sterling said softly. He said, Julian, let them show her who they are when they think I left her with nothing. Let them reveal their hearts while she's still in the trash house. And then, when the 5 years are up, you go to her. The air in the hallway seemed to vanish. Marcus froze. Chloe, who had wandered into the hall with her phone out ready to record a moment, slowly lowered her hand. The 5 years were up at sunset today, Eleanor. He reached into his inner coat pocket and pulled out a small, velvet-lined box. "What's that?" Chloe asked, her voice high and fluttering with greed. "Is that jewelry, Mama? Is it a diamond?" My hands shook as I took the box. I opened a latch, and inside wasn't a ring. It wasn't a necklace. It was a heavy, rusted iron key, and beneath it, a piece of paper embossed with the gold seal of the First National Bank of Atlanta. "What's a rusty key going to do for the light bill, Ma?" Marcus sneered, though his voice lacked its usual bite. He was looking at the SUV outside. He knew that car cost more than his entire firm's portfolio. Mr. Sterling finally looked at Marcus. The look was so cold it could have frozen the sweat on Marcus's brow. "Mr. Vance," Sterling said, "your mother doesn't need a loan for a light bill. She owns the company that sends the bill, along with the bank that holds your mortgage and the land your firm sits on." Sterling turned back to me and bowed, a deep, ancient gesture of respect. "The car is waiting, Madam Chairman. We have a board meeting at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Will you be attending, or shall I tell them you're busy with family?"